Hello, and today's video is going to be a bit of a blast from the past. It's about a Daisy Model 660 toy gun, or a Noisemaker gun. Now, the thing with these is, the main reason I want to do a video on it, because you're going to say, oh, some people say, oh, this isn't like the content you normally make. This is kind of really interesting if you go back and find one of these, and you get something like this that's kind of, you know, no longer something that would be, I guess, politically correct or whatever to make. So what is this basically? Well, Daisy do a few air rifles and things like this, but this isn't actually an air rifle. What this does is you crank it, and then it makes a weird noise. It recoils a bit and makes a weird noise. So it's a Noisemaker rifle. Now, what you'll notice about it is it looks fairly realistic at a distance. I mean, obviously, rather than having wood on it, it's plastic or bakelite. I can't work out which one because it's obviously fairly old. But it's, you know, actual metal construction. Obviously not a very strong metal. It'd be thin aluminium or something like that that's then been painted black. But the point is, you know, that it's it looks too realistic to be, you know, made today, in a sense, or at least in the UK. Obviously it's a Daisy, so it's from the US. It actually says on their Model 660 toy gun, Rogers, Arkansas. Well, it would be Arkansas, wouldn't it, rather than Arkansas, but Arkansas, USA. So basically, this is going to be a video where we both look at this and we talk a bit about the politics of why can't your kids be given these anymore, because we live in a society where we're scared of things like this. So, for all accounts and purposes, it's a toy gun. Now, could somebody hold up a shop in the dark with it? Perhaps. I don't know, really. It's certainly a lot more realistic looking than a lot of things. So I could understand at that point of it that, you know, you don't want the kids to be mistaken for having a real gun and like shot by armed police for that way, or just have maybe the police's time wasted by having them called out because the kid's got one of these on them. And I think you can also see it the other way round of, you know, somebody could use this for holding up, you know, like a petrol station or something, but to be honest they could use almost anything for that. But I think it is really a shame when it's got to the stage in the UK where you can't even buy something like this, as far as I'm aware, without having some sort of license for it or whatever else, because this might technically be considered old enough that you could have it as a replica and it wouldn't matter, but back before the UCARA and the Violent Crime Reduction Act, stuff like this could be bought by anybody who just decided they wanted it because, you know, we'll trust people to buy them. But then they decided to reduce violent crime. What we'll do is we'll make it harder for people to buy realistic looking or imitation firearms, rather than just not understanding that criminals can buy things on the black market anyway, and lots of criminals, if they wanted them, would have real firearms, not just imitation ones. And as I've ranted before in other videos, that's one of those laws that's not even evenly applied at all, you know, in regards to the fact that there's lots of things where, I'm not going to mention them in this video because I've done it before, but where the law doesn't apply to them, so you can still get around it by doing other things, but it's a unevenly applied, you know, knee-jerk reaction law. So, you know, I think it is really a shame in many ways that you can't just simply still get cool-looking toy guns, and also the quality of construction of this as well. Like I said, this is well built. It's not some cheap plastic thing that's going to fall apart, you know, 10 seconds after you've bought it. Again, it is made in America, so it's got some kind of, you know, workmanship on it, rather than it being made somewhere in a sweatshop, so there's always that. So what I want to do now is just show you the mechanics of it a few more times. So obviously it's lever action, it's based on a sort of Winchester style design. So you do that back, that cocks a spring inside, you pull the trigger. It does the Noisemaker. So the Noisemaker section is actually in here, in the like handguard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that screw out, and then we can have a look at the inside of the gun and how it all fits together. Okay, so the screw's removed. Let's take this off. There we go, and this is the mechanism underneath. So let me try and show you a bit more clearly what happens. So this is your Noisemaker section. You've got this that spins across basically a tight bit of wire. So there you go, that's that. I assume this section also makes a bit of echo, having it against this kind of bit of metal, as you can probably see there. So what I'll do is I'll cock it again. So doing that, that's just compressing a spring that's behind the trigger. There's no actual kind of that bit involved there. But then if you watch this, watch the Noisemaker section there. Now that doesn't actually work properly at the moment because I've taken the thing out. So what you'll see is that basically this Noisemaker spins, if I can get it back into place properly. That is held in here and spins, but when the cover's not off, that's not held in tight. So what basically happens is that can jump out of place and then it won't make any noise. So what I'll do again, so you can see the mechanisms of how this works at least. That spins against the wire, which makes a noise. So it's pretty simple. You know, obviously all powered by that big spring you can see there. You know, big beefy spring, kind of like an air rifle spring, as Daisy did the Red Riders. I'm sure it's a similar kind of spring an air rifle would use. But anyway, let me pop this back together again, and then I'll just demonstrate it working. So there we go, the Daisy is reconstructed and working properly. Now, the only thing I think that, I don't know if this is due to age, that might make this a bit difficult for kids to use is that the spring is actually, you know, it's quite a tough mechanism in this. However, that's good, isn't it? Because it's physically, you know, kids are getting something physical out of it if they're using this. They'll build up some muscles and strength actually using it, so that's good. So yeah, like I said, I think it's a real shame you can't get stuff like this anymore easily, because, you know, the Health and Safety Brigade have all said, oh no, this is teaching kids to be murderers because they're pretending to be cowboys with like a toy Winchester. Obviously you can tell this is not to scale, even if it's you know, fairly realistic looking in a sense. Only other thing I can see with it, I think there might have been a sight here that's sheared off at some point, because if you look at that you can see that that bit moves in there and it looks like something was sticking up there originally. But other than that, yeah, the construction is very good on this. I assume there probably is a way to completely disassemble this if you wanted to. But like I said, you can only get the Noisemaker bit using a screw in there. But as far as I'm aware, this never used to have a bottle cap or anything on it. Because yeah, when I looked at the Noisemaker mechanism, I was kind of interested. Oh, is there, you know, some air compression thing in there that would shoot a cork or something? No, there's a mark there, so I don't know if this originally had an orange cover on, but as far as I'm aware it didn't, because it probably predates all of, you know, make sure kids don't think it's a real gun. If you're interested in the story of how I got this, that's kind of interesting as well, because as I said, you probably can't buy these anymore. I do sort of pantomimes and sort of summer shows with a group that's quite local to me. I won't say exactly where it is, obviously, because I don't want people knowing too close to where I live, but the people who know me all know what this is. And in our props cupboard we had this for ages, and then I said to him, you know, one time I was looking at it, I said, is it really all that good if we've got this in here? Because if this is an air rifle, and it might be, I'm not sure, like a Daisy Red Rider, you know, is there a risk to other people if, you know, we use it on stage, we cock it and shoot it, and then, you know, something comes out, you know, it could injure somebody or whatever? And they said, yeah, that's not great. And I said, well, I'm happy to buy it, you know, from you, because this is the kind of thing I like anyway. And they said, you know, don't worry, you can have it for free. But then I said I later found out that it was actually a Noisemaker rifle and not an air rifle, so I told them, do you want it back? And they said, no, it's fine, keep it, because, you know, for most of the cowboy ones we end up using sort of, you know, those cheap little blank firing guns you can still get, like the cap guns. So, you know, something like this doesn't actually sound as good as a cap gun if you're shooting it, but it's still an interesting thing. I suppose if we really did need it, I could always just bring it back in and say, look, here it is, use it, and then I'll have it back again. So yeah, no idea how old this is, very old I would guess. As you can see, some minor rusting to bits of it, some of the bits wobbling and being a bit loose, but I don't think you'd get many toys, and this is the thing I want to state, an actual toy that have survived this long and you know, are in this good condition. It shows just how well Daisy made stuff. I don't know if they still make stuff to this quality, because I've not actually had a Daisy air gun, but in terms of you know, stuff like this, I'm very, very impressed with it.